Collecting Pokemon cards isn't fun anymore.
Yu-Gi-Oh sucks now and it used to be epic.
The MetaZoo company just made a press release saying that they are just straight up shutting everything down.
MetaZoo announced that they were closing.
Not every indie TCG is going to end up like Magic the Gathering and Pokemon.
There's definitely an unspoken feeling that Pokemon cards these days just aren't the same.
The new sets have been performing extremely negatively.
In my humble opinion, I think Yu-Gi-Oh is getting a little unfun. Yu-Gi-Oh has gotten way too complex.
Floodgates, blowout cards, turn one combo, unbreakable boards.
As Yu-Gi-Oh got more complex, this changed, and the growing complexity was one of the reasons my childhood self lost interest in the game.
It's not even the same game, really.
I was talking to a friend that hasn't played Yu-Gi-Oh in so long, and I was explaining to him the effects of a card. It tributed their monsters and it gained attack. He was already intrigued. He said it was great. Then I said it can do other things, like special summon an opponent's monster to the side of the field. And he was like, yo, wait, well, hold on, time out. Well, that's too much.
This is an issue that is not new to Yu-Gi-Oh! This is something that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has gotten faster and faster and faster over the years.
Pendulum summoning specifically really rubbed people the wrong way just because it was a drastic escalation in complexity.
The power creep in Yu-Gi-Oh has actually made Yu-Gi-Oh bad.
Yu-Gi-Oh! In my opinion, is probably the most complex card game to play out of all of them.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
How many times have we sat down and saw an opponent start playing cards and we were just like, all right. It happens like that in regular Yu-Gi-Oh. Players are just playing cards and you're just sitting there looking at them.
I don't like playing a game where I didn't really take part because of certain cards or certain interactions.
We are currently going through a very turbulent time in Yu-Gi-Oh's history where some of the strongest in-engine cards you need to play the game are adding up to approximately $1,000.
One of the biggest problems is still price. If your particular Yu-Gi-Oh deck that you have to pay for costs more than your car note, then we have a genuine problem, because cars are expensive nowadays too.
Konami could do a better job at reprinting the cards, maybe in a more timely manner to make them more accessible.
But by the time that we actually get good reprints for certain cards, they're not even usable anymore. Konami's attempts to reprint Yu-Gi-Oh cards is complete trash.
In 2023, Yu-Gi-Oh released 23 different products. 23.
For a lot of individuals, investing even a few $100s into a competitive deck is extraordinarily expensive and something that people don't want to do, which is why they may not take the leap into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh!
Like, everything is ridiculously expensive. In order to compete in Yu-Gi-Oh, you have to get SP Little Knight, which right now is $80, and this is a must-play Yu-Gi-Oh card. But is it just me? Or does it seem like everybody's playing the exact same cards even though they're playing different decks?
It's insane to think that Konami has released what is arguably the greatest reprint set of all time, and immediately after that, we are at a point where Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one of the most cost-prohibitive competitive formats we have seen in quite some time.
Actually, really do like what they're doing with the new sets. Every holo card that is ultra rare and above also gets a Starlight rarity version as well. I really hope they keep that up.
I think there's ways to make the game more fun and more interactive in more ways.
Something needs to change.
What is fun and what is fair is highly subjective when it comes to a card game.
Yu-Gi-Oh is going to continue to be run in this way until it inevitably collapses in the year 2090 when cardboard becomes more precious than water.
MetaZoo shut down, and I still believe Pokemon is reigning king, right up there with Magic and with Yu-Gi-Oh!
Apparently the company is just ceasing to exist or shutting down or filing bankruptcy or just pretty much quitting.
The way it was run, there were a lot of difficulties. There were a lot of mistakes made.
MetaZoo just got too big too fast.
They just tried to achieve way too much.
The mechanics of the game never got easier. They never got more streamlined. They just got difficult, more and more difficult.
I guess a bunch of people were owed also winnings or money. Maybe the winners of the tournament or the Pro Tour.
They started having a lot of money problems. Like, people would win these tournaments and they wouldn't get paid for months and months and months after they were told they would be paid.
I think this was a management thing. Everybody was wondering how they were going to recover from the Hello Kitty thing.
And so they injected this huge supply into the market that they didn't have the basis and the fans and the customers for, and that caused a massive downturn in the market.
Everybody who ordered it everybody got crushed.
A massive gross overproduction, and whatever it is, 90 bucks, 80 bucks distribution cost on a product, and they can't even sell it for that.
And like, right now, with prices dipping, okay, they could come back, sure, but I don't care one way or the other. I collect what I love. I collect what I enjoy.
I was not surprised when I saw that they closed down shop and went out of business.
Things have, pretty much fallen apart.
I don't know what that's going to mean for existing products out there.
There was decisions in the upper leadership of MetaZoo that were being made that were borderline, some people would say disrespectful towards other members of the community, getting banned and disrespected and getting mocked and made fun of.
I still think the whole thing could have been prevented. Wow, I guess that's the end of a chapter. What a disappointment.
There are things in the works that is going to keep, MetaZoo going and maybe get MetaZoo back on track. Hopefully get the people paid off that had money coming, or get, refunds made, and then, go from there.
Pokemon is still reigning king.
Pokemon is definitely not in a good spot as it stands right now.
The market's kind of not real happy with the new block.
I'm not really enjoying opening up this set very much.
Something just feels different compared to the Sword and Shield era, even with some of the best looking cards ever printed.
Prices for MSRP as well as wholesale have drastically increased since the start of the Scarlet and Violet era.
And the pull rates and things were changed, and which means a lot of these cards aren't going to have much value, and even the hits are going to be super cheap because, well, they're not tough to pull anymore.
12, 13 hits that you get right now in a booster box with the additional rarities that are out there.
And finding those rare cards, well, depending on the set, it's way too easy, overpopulating the amount of hard to find hits and diminishing the value of the toughest to find Pokemon.
Like, you should be happy right now that these new sets are coming out and they're accessible. The prices are pretty stable and cheap, and you can accumulate or buy as much or as little as you want of this.
We've had nothing but 3 just back-to-back terrible sets.
Collectors have pushed back, claiming that it's too easy to find rare cards now, diminishing the value of chase cards across the board, and prompting collectors to shun the Scarlet and Violet block. The hunt has well and truly become too easy, leaving little desired open packs for cards that are essentially deemed worthless.
But I don't think it's that bad. I think this is gonna age just fine.
The most anticipated Pokemon sets of 2023. Introducing Pokemon Card 151.
This is just the most interesting set that Pokemon has released in quite some time. It came out during a time where Pokemon was starting to fade a little bit. A lot of people were pushing themselves out of the hobby.
All 151 Pokemon originally discovered in the Kanto region in Pokedex order. The legendary birds, Charizard, Mew.
They look gorgeous, gorgeous cards.
They're some of the best, most popular Pokemon and cards in the entire franchise.
This is the best set I've seen since joining the hobby.
This is just another Charizard set.
The hype for this set is unlike anything we've ever seen.
And it still has seen great success, and the price points on a lot of singles have remained extremely consistent, unlike a lot of other counterparts throughout Sword and Shield, throughout Scarlet and Violet.
Compared to Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon feels alive.
If we get rid of some of the core problems, we can also get rid of some of the Band-Aid fixes.
Still isn't going to generally change things.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to give. We're gonna follow up on this.
Maybe the fun of collecting cards really is gone for good.
We'll see. We'll see.